Hello, this is lesson 2.4, multiplying and dividing decimals. Please make sure you have this handout in front of you before we begin, along with two different colors. If you need to get the handout, you haven't gotten it yet, you can always download a copy from my PowerSchool website. Pause the video if you need to get the handout out and ready, and then press play. Please pause now. Okay, so let's take a look at the top left box for multiplying decimals, and these are the same rules as when you did the elementary school. We're just adding another step of the triangle guy. Pause the video, copy what you see on your screen, and then when you're ready to continue, press play. Please pause now. So we're going to apply these steps to this example here. So on this example, the first step says you're going to multiply the digits as usual, ignoring the decimals. So we're going to here put 12.8 times 0.65. Okay, we do not need to line up the decimal points. And we're going to multiply them, as we would without the decimal points. So 5 times 8 is 40. 5 times 2 plus 4 is 14, and 5 times 1 plus 1 is 6. And then we put a placeholder, and 6 times 8 is 48. You carry 4, there's a 4 there. 6 times 2 plus 4 is, it's 12 plus 4, that's 16. You carry the 1, and 6 times 1 plus 1 is 7. Okay, and now we're just going to add like we normally do. And here we get 8,320. So now comes step number 2. You put the same number of decimal places as in your answer as in the question. So I'm going to underline in red the number of decimal places we have in our question. There's 1 here, 2, and 3. So then starting at the end, we're going to move it 1, 2, 3 times. So now our decimal lands in between the 8 and the 3. So our answer is 8.32, and using the triangle guy, we don't really need it because it's just two positives. Okay, now on the top right, we're going to start to multiply on these examples. I put a little triangle guy just so that we can refer to it at the end to decide if our answer is positive or negative. So step number 1, you're going to multiply as usual, ignoring the decimal points. So we have 15.6 and then times 2. And then we're just going to multiply. 2 times 6 is 12, carry the 1. 2 times 5 plus 1 is 11, carry the 1. And then 2 times 1 plus 1 is 3. Okay, now we look at our decimal places in our problem, and there's only one number behind the decimal point, and then that's it. So we're starting from the far right. We're going to move the decimal point 1 time to the left, and we're going to put it between the 1 and the 2. And then you look to see where the decimal point goes. It's a positive times a negative, so we cover those two up, and our negative is showing, so then our answer is negative 31.2. And then you box your answer. Okay, let's take a look at number 2. Negative 1.5 times negative 0.02. I'm going to put 1.5 on top because even though the second number has more digits in it, the leading digits are 0, so it's okay to write it like that. And then you just multiply like normal. 15 times 12, or 2, I'm sorry, 15 times 2. If you want, you can do it, one by one. You're going to have 2 times 5, which is 10, and then 2 times 1 plus 1 is 3. Okay, and then you don't have to multiply these zeros because it's not going to change our answer in our adding. So now we can just go ahead and count the number of decimal places. So we have 1 decimal place, 2, 3 decimal places. So starting on the far right, we're going to move it 1, 2, and then we have to move it a third time, 3. Okay, we're going to put a 0 here and then a decimal point. Okay, I like to put a decimal point in front. So now it's a negative times a negative, which is positive. So we have 0.03. We don't need the last 0. And this is our final answer. Now problem number 3. Your sister earns $12.50 per hour at her new job. How much will she earn if she works for 8 hours? So let's go ahead and first circle the important information. This is how much she earns per hour, and then how much is she going to earn after 8. So we're going to multiply. We have 12.50 times 8. Sorry, I messed that up a lot. There we go. Okay, 8 times 0 is 40, carry the 4. 8 times 5 plus 4 is 44, carry the 4. 8 times 2 plus 4 is 20, carry the 2. And 8 times 1 plus 2 is 10. Okay, and now we look at our decimal places. So it's going to be in our problem, we have 1, 2. So now we count 1, 2 to the left. We put our decimal point there. So this, your sister's going to earn $100.40. Now you do need that 0 at the very end on this one because we're talking about money. Anytime you have cents, you need 2 decimal places. Okay, so now what we're going to do next is talk about dividing decimals. I want you to pause the video so you can copy this down, and then when you're ready to continue, press play. Please pause now. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to follow those rules, the steps above, to divide this example at the bottom. And what I like to tell my kids is always write in and out on the top of their division problem, so you know which one's the divisor and which one's the dividend. So here's our dividing house. The dividend is the inside number and the divisor is the outside. So step number 1 says you're going to make the divisor a whole number, which is the outside. Okay, so to make this a whole number, we just move the decimal point to the end and we count the number of spaces. That's 1. Then we look at step number 2 above. You're going to move the decimal of the dividend, which is the inside number, the same number of spaces as you do the divisor. So here, we're going to move this decimal 1 time to the right. Okay, and then we're going to bring the decimal point up. Okay, so that was step number 3, and then we're going to divide. Okay, so we're going to bring it up. It's in between the 3 and the 7. Now we divide 19 into 43. 19 into 43 is going to go in 2 times. 2 times 19 is 38, and then we can borrow here, and we're going to have 13 minus 8 is 5. And then we bring down the 7. And then we have 19 into 57. That's going to go in 3 times. 3 times 19 is 57. And then we subtract, we get a remainder of 0. And using the triangle guide, we don't really need to here because it's just 2 positives. And so that's going to give us a positive 2.3. Okay, so now we're going to apply those steps for dividing to the examples here on the right, bottom right. And I already wrote the in and out above the problem. So here for problem number 1, we're going to put the inside number inside the division house. And I'm going to start up here because otherwise I will run out of room. I don't have a lot of space. The outside number goes on the outside as our divisor. And now our first step is you're going to make the divisor a whole number. So here to make 0.12 a whole number, we move it twice. And on the inside number, we've got to move that over twice to the right. But notice that we have an extra space, so we put in a 0, and then I'm going to extend this bar here. Okay, now we can divide. 12 goes in, oh, and I have to bring the decimal point up. Oops, almost forgot that. Bring it up. Now we can divide. 12 goes into 43 3 times. 3 times 12 is 36, okay? And then when we subtract 43 minus 36, we're going to get 7. And then we bring down the 2, we have 72. 12 goes into 72 6 times. 6 times 12 is 72, and we subtract, and we get 0. Now, we're not done yet because we actually have this space right here. That's why it's important you know where to put that decimal point. There's a space. So we have to bring down that 0, okay, because it's on the inside of that number. And then 12 goes into 0 0 times. 0 times 12 is 0, and we subtract, and now we're done. So using our triangle guide, we have a negative divided by a positive. Okay, so one negative sign makes our answer negative. So we're going to write our answer as negative 360. And you box it. Okay, let's take a look at number 2. Okay. I'm going to try to write as small as I can. The inside number here is going to be 8.2. The outside number is 4. Okay, now that divisor is already a whole number, so all we have to do is bring this decimal point up. Okay, so it's going to go up to the top, and it's going to be in between the 8 and the 2. And now we can divide. 4 goes into 8 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. We subtract. We get 0, but then you bring down the 2. And now you have to divide. 4 into 2 goes in 0 times. 0 times 4 is 0, so we subtract. You get a 2, and you bring down a 0. Okay, 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. We subtract. Now we have 2.05. And then remember, a negative divided by a negative, if you cover these up, it's going to give you a positive. So our answer is going to be 2.05. Now let's take a look at number 3. On number 3, we've got it costs $5.60 for 2.5 pounds of apples. What is the cost per apple? So here's our $2 amounts. It's $5.60 for 2.5 pounds. If we want to find out how much it is per pound, we're going to put the cost on the inside. So again, I'm going to have to write kind of small because I don't have a lot of space. Okay, and then 2.5 goes on the outside. You make the divisor a whole number. So here, let's do that. It's going to go 1 decimal place to the right. On the inside, you do the same. You bring it straight to the top. Now 25 goes into 56 2 times. 2 times 25 is 50. And then 56 minus 50 is 6. Then you bring down a 0. 25 goes into 62 times again. You get 50. You get a remainder 10. And then you add a 0 and bring it straight down. And then 25 goes into 100 4 times. 100 times 25 is 100. And then we're done. So then we label it $2.24 per pound. And that's our answer. Box your answer. And that's all for your notes. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.